Hi, and thanks for watching. I'm Michael Alden. Folks, if you're one of the millions of Americans that suffer with diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, MS, and even cancer, my guest today claims that these diseases are actually being cured naturally and the information is actually being suppressed. He's one of the nation's foremost authorities on health and wellness, and he's here today to talk about his revolutionary, groundbreaking book entitled The Disease Conspiracy. He's the author of several books, and what he has to say today, I'm sure will be very controversial. So if you're interested in natural remedies and you want to learn more, you're not going to want to miss this next half an hour. Please help me welcome Mr. Robert Barefoot. Robert, thanks for being my guest.
It's great to be in Boston.
Well, you know, for those of our viewers who don't know who you are, which would be probably difficult because you've been on TV for years, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got involved in the world of health and nutrition, in educating people about natural remedies?
Well, first off, I'd like to tell you that I'm a scientist, and for 40 years, I've been studying with other medical doctors and medical researchers, nutrition and disease for 40 years.
Okay.
So back 40 years ago, we were talking to patients about taking calcium, for example, and vitamin D. And back 40 years ago, there were only 2 scientific publications on calcium. Last year, there were 70,000.
Wow.
70,000 scientists have joined us. It's the hottest topic in medical research. And vitamin D is running a close second.
Right.
Back then, they would say when we would tell people to take more vitamin D, they were saying, oh, could be toxic. And
Right.
the key word was could be, because no medical study has ever shown either vitamin D or calcium to be toxic. How many people do you know died from calcium last year?
I've never heard of that
Well,
ever
of course,
once.
and they never have. However, the medical authorities are spending billions of dollars trying to convince the public that God's nutrients are toxic.
Well, you know, so one of the things, again, you're the author of several books, and we met several years ago, and you wrote 2 groundbreaking books entitled Death by Diet and The Calcium Factor. Today, you're here to talk about the disease conspiracy, the FDA suppression of cures. You spend most of your time talking about vitamin D. You know, you hear a lot about vitamin D, and it seems to be the hot thing now. You know, what can vitamin D do for us, and why is it such a big deal now?
I'd like to correct one thing you said. I'm not making any of these claims. The book is full of hundreds of medical researchers, the best medical researchers in the world, and what they are saying. When they make the claims, they're making it in scientific publications that the public never see.
Sure.
I read the publications, and I invite the public to join me in learning what these scientists are trying to tell us. And all of them are trying to tell us that both calcium and vitamin D can terminate disease. For years and years and years, everybody has been saying that calcium prevents, inhibits cancer, for example, and lupus, MS. But recently, there's been a flurry of activity on vitamin D. And that's why in my book, you are quite correct, I make it prominent, because so many research, and they're coming out and saying, cures cancer. I'm not saying it. The scientists of the world are saying it. I give you their name, their number, when they said it, how they said it, where they said it.
So essentially, your book is like, you're like the messenger. I mean,
well, yes, and the reason why I call it the conspiracy is because the drug industry, the FDA, the FTC are all against the American public being informed that there are cures for cancer, lupus, MS, diabetes. They want no one to know that, because I'll give you an example. A Canadian Cancer Society recently published that 15,000 IU of vitamin D, that's 50 cents.
Okay.
Can terminate 65% of all women's breast cancer. Now, how significant is that? Well, the drug industry looks and said, you can't terminate breast cancer for 50 cents.
Sure.
We're in it for $1 million per patient.
Right.
And so the FDA, the FTC, and the AMA all get together and try to suppress this information. My book, I'm trying to expose it, and that's why I call it a conspiracy.
See, that's the thing for me that's scary, is that, you know, we rely on our doctors, we rely on you know, here, the AMA, the FDA, and you think that they have the public's interest, but you're saying the complete opposite. You're saying they don't want us to know the natural remedies.
Well, a 50-cent cancer cure. You really think they want to lose the hundreds of billions to trillions of dollars they're making? No way. I mean, this is such big business, they can't afford to let you know that 50 cents worth of vitamin D could cure you.
Well, the other thing too is you have the American Cancer Society, and you have guys like on TV like Jerry Lewis that are talking about MS and things like that. But you don't hear about vitamin D and calcium as being the answer. And they're raising all this money, billions of dollars, and nothing's happening
Because it's a 50-cent cure. And unfortunately, in the history of the drug industry, can you name one drug that ever cured a degenerative disease?
Penicillin?
No, it never cured a degenerative disease. It just kills virus.
But isn't there,
The point is, there's never been a drug, and there never will be. And yet here these scientists are coming saying, but we don't need drugs because God's nutrients work. And the drug industry does know that God's nutrients work because they made hundreds of billions of dollars selling nutrients as drugs.
So all these walks for cures and all these fundraisers for cures, it's just, where's the money going? What are they doing?
Well, I really don't know, but if they'd come to me for 50 cents, we can cure them.
That's an unbelievable statement.
I know, but according to all these scientists, it's the truth. And when you look at their credentials, you're going to be really impressed. You're going to say, whoa, these are the who's who in cancer, the who's who in diabetes, the who's who in lupus. These are the guys that are the world's greatest, and they're all saying God's nutrients work. Furthermore, for example, University of Toronto, University of Florida, they not only say that vitamin D terminates cancer, they film and show you why. You see, all chromosomes, which are the basis, biological basis to reproduce body parts, all chromosomes are end cap, what we call a telomere. It's like the end of a shoelace. It's hard and it protects the shoelace.
Right.
Well, every time the DNA replicates, a little piece of the telomere breaks off, and finally, after a few hundred replications, the telomere's gone and we die.
Okay.
Now, with cancer, the telomere is immortal, never breaks down, and that's why cancer is so prolific.
Okay.
But the University of Toronto, University of Florida, discovered that with 15,000 IU of vitamin D, 50 cents, the telomere disintegrates in a few hours, and they film it. When the telomere's gone, a few hours later, the cancer's dead.
That's
so they can film and show you how vitamin D terminates cancer. It's convincing for everybody, but why is it that no one knows? Well, that's because the drug industry controls the press. They control the radio, television. How they do it is with drug revenues. I'll give you a good example. In 2006, December 29th, the lead story on CNN, you know what it was?
No.
Massive 2 million man study. Now that's not 1,000 man. A 2 million man study proved that vitamin D terminates 50% of all cancer. Now you know what happened? The story disappeared the next day. I had some friends in CNN and said, what's going on? The drug industry threatened to withdraw hundreds of millions of dollars in drug ads.
Vitamin D.
And so vitamin D story dissipated. They can control the press, and they do. They can control the radio, the TV, newspapers are all totally controlled by these massive drug industry revenues.
Well, the thing about vitamin D too, and we and I were talking earlier, is that we naturally produce it, right? I mean, we can just go on this, right?
That's the irony. Let me tell you the vitamin D story. And that was vitamin D was discovered in 1913, but by 1918, they were on to, hey, this stuff really works.
Okay.
By 1928, 10 years later, everybody in America was taking 20 milligrams a day.
Okay.
And you know what happened? Our hospitals emptied out. They had a medical emergency. No one was getting sick. So what the AMA and the FDA got together and what they decided to do was they decided to give 7 medical students enough vitamin D to kill a horse. Well, of course, the kids got sick.
Right.
That was their excuse to remove vitamin D from the shelf. But because of the public uproar, the President of the United States had to commission University of Chicago medical faculty under Dr. Frock to tell the world, is vitamin D toxic?
Okay.
Well, the study took years, and in the meantime, the FDA and AMA got together and said, we've got to stop people from taking the crucial vitamins A, D, and E.
Right.
And so you know what we're going to do? We're going to use number psychology on the public. The 20 milligrams that the little lady takes every day is now 1 million units, and 1 million units will kill you.
Huh.
And today, so what did they allow? 400. Now 400 is 1/100th of a milligram, not enough to do any good.
Well, didn't the American Academy of Pediatrics just finally say that even it used to be 200 international units for children. Now, didn't they finally at least say, all right, 400 is what a child should be taking?
Well, actually, they're saying 1,000 and 2,000 for sick people that are elderly. But the point is, all that is, I mean, that's not even 1/10 of a gram.
Okay.
I mean, a third of a milligram is what the University of Toronto says terminates cancer. A third of a milligram.
Now, do you think, I mean, you truly believe that the FDA, the FTC, the AMA, they're really trying to hide this information from the American public, and it's all because of the money?
Well, hundreds of billions to trillions of dollars are at stake. We're not talking, millions of dollars. We're talking trillions of dollars are at stake. They make more money than the United States government does. Think about it, my gosh. And as a result, 75% of all political contributions come from the drug industry.
Sure.
Almost 90% of all those people involved in the AMA, FTC end up with multi-million-dollar pensions in the drug industry. And here's one more thing. Every year they withdraw 25 drugs because those drugs are killing people. So in the last 40 years, there's been 1,000 drugs that kill people that have been withdrawn from the market. How did they get on the market in the first place? And the answer is, all drugs are automatically pre-approved because the FDA, the AMA, are owned by the drug industry.
That's the scary thing, too. You're right. And every day there's a new drug that's being taken off the market. Every day there's a new warning, and now people are getting sick.
No drug has ever cured a degenerative disease. However, these scientists are saying God's nutrients do. So the AMA, the FDA, FTC are all working in conjunction with the drug industry to suppress this information. The information is out there and is going to be learned. God bless the internet. They can't shut us down anymore.
Bob, actually, in a minute, I want to talk to you a little bit more about calcium. You actually talk about it in a lot of your books here, and what it also can do for the body. Because again, this is what kind of like brought you into the spotlight, and also kind of got you in some hot water.
Yes.
Several years ago. Folks, we've been talking with Robert Barefoot about his revolutionary new book entitled The Disease Conspiracy. It's actually not available in stores. It's actually only available on our show today, and it's absolutely free. You just pay a small shipping and processing charge. So pick up the phone and give us a call. Plus, when you do call, ask about how you can receive one, if not all of Robert Barefoot's books, absolutely free. Again, you just pay the shipping and processing. He's actually the author of 8 books. Some of these books have sold upwards to $30 a piece in the past. And the information in this book, I mean, he talks about, again, diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, arthritis, MS, and even cancer, and they're actually being cured with natural remedies. He also claims that this information is being suppressed by government agencies. Again, folks, pick up the phone, give us a call. You really have nothing to lose. You can get all these books, one, if not all these books, just pay the shipping and processing. Folks, this information will change your life. So pick up the phone and give us a call. Bob, again, a couple years ago, more than a couple years ago, I think you really became a household name in the American public about your discovery or your information about calcium, and very specifically a type of calcium called coral calcium. Tell us a little bit about coral calcium. Why is it different? Why is it important? And how can it help people?
Well, if you analyze the human body, 5% is calcium. Now that is more than any other mineral times 10.
Okay.
So there's more calcium in our body than anything else, and calcium is involved in hundreds and hundreds of biological functions.
Okay.
So you would have to agree we need calcium. The problem is, how do we get it? Now, calcium that we need so desperately is also one of the hardest substances for the human body to absorb.
Okay.
When you buy a tub, you get 1/4 of 1%. I think the highest I heard was mother's milk, and that's 17%.
Okay. Well, don't we get it from just regular milk too?
Oh yeah, you do from regular milk, but you're only absorbing 5%.
Okay.
And so, in other words, even though the milk has 1,000 milligrams in there, you're going to get 5% of that, which is what, 50 milligrams?
Okay.
And the human body needs about 800 to 1,000 a day. Okay.
All right.
So you'd have to drink about 20 quarts of milk. So you're not going to get all your calcium from just milk, okay, or any of the all these products. You go to the health food store and you get all them calcium pills, well, you hardly get any of the calcium to go to your body. However, when you add vitamin D to the equation, if you took those 15,000 units of vitamin D, you'd absorb 20 times as much calcium.
Okay.